In this video, I'm going to teach you how to build the best possible cargo setup in Transport Fever 2. And this is a setup that's been refined over the past 4 years. And it's a really OP way of doing things to make a lot of money in Transport Fever 2. But more importantly, it's going to make your cities grow to the absolute maximum that they possibly can to get those huge sized cities. In today's video, I'm going to explain what is a cargo hub and why it's the most efficient thing to do in Transport Fever 2 for cargo, and how to make a cargo hub and sorting yards from scratch in Transport Fever 2, such as where to put them and the best design when making them. And just to prove that this works and how effective this is my current line statistics. And to be fair, I've seen this way higher. I think I've seen like 200 million on one of these trains before, but yeah, everything's doing pretty well. Seems to all be in the blue for the most part. And this is playing on hard difficulty, by the way. Some things you may have a very small loss on, but let's have a look here. The worst cargo train I've currently got in loss is -4 million. And that's just a connecting train that's taking, it looks like some kind of iron or coal somewhere from the hub it's picking up in the secondary hub. So it's actually not that important in the main grand scheme of things anyway. So that's making the worst possible one -4, and the best possible one is about +120. So, I mean, you just pales in comparison. That's how overpowered this is. And that's why you need to use it in your saves. So make sure to watch to the end and you can find out the best way of doing it in your save. And if you want to download the map for yourself, it's available. Go underneath the video and press join and become a channel member. It's really cheap and that allows you to have access to all of the content in these videos. You get a bunch of other perks as well, such as seeing videos before everyone else, so check it out. And without people joining, there wouldn't be videos like this, so thank you everyone who's joined. What is a hub? Well, a hub basically is a big central location that can dispatch certain cargo to certain places automatically with what we'll talk about a little bit later called the game's director. Instead of you manually going, oh yeah, we'll take this iron to this steel mill and then the steel to the next place and then the next place and the next place, manually, it will automatically assign what cargo goes where. So this is our central hub in the middle of the map, near the capital city. Basically all of the external yards around the map are going to hook up to the main distribution hub in the center of the map. I've got a mod here called Minimap. You don't need this mod, of course, it's just to visually explain it a little bit better and easier for you on how this works. So this is a Transport Fever 2 map, and you can see all of the different cargo and where it's made on the map. You can also see where my train lines are. So here we have a yard. You can see that this blue square is our southeast yard, and then we've got one here in the northeast, we got one in the northwest, and one in the southwest, and all of these have a line that connects up to the distribution hub down here. So if we draw a circle around each of the yards on this map, all of this cargo in the circle goes to the closest hub. So we've got one circle here that's going into this hub, and we've got one circle here that's going into this hub, we've got the circle here going into this central hub here, this circle going into this one, and this one going into this one. And then when all the cargo gets delivered to the outer yards, they then get pulled into the distribution hub, and then from the distribution hub, the game's director will automatically dispatch the cargo out to wherever it needs to go. So say for example, we've got some wood that's here, that's getting delivered to this yard, down in the southeast. And where does the wood need to go? Well, to a sawmill, of course. So it's going to get dispatched to the distribution hub, and the game's going to go, oh, okay, so there's 4 sawmills. We've got one here, one here, one here, and one here. Let's split the cargo perfectly and send exactly the correct amount that needs to go for all 4 of these. So then the cargo is going to get split up. All the cargo is going to get transferred onto different trains, and the exact amount is going to go to this sawmill, the exact to this sawmill, and so on. And it means that you get perfect cargo distribution. Now, a common thing that comes up with this, people think, well, isn't it quicker to just go, oh, well, I'll draw a line straight from here to here? Well, yeah, you could do that, and that would be quicker, you're correct. But that's not the best we can do. Passengers do not work the same as cargo in Transport Fever 2. Passengers need to get to the location as quick as possible. Hence this track here that's going straight to this city, pretty much in a straight line. This track here going pretty much in a straight line to this city, and so on. But cargo's different. If I'm an industry, say I'm a steel mill, and I'm wanting to order 500 tons of iron ore and 500 tons of coal every month, then it doesn't matter how old the iron ore is. This iron ore, it could be mined, and then immediately taken to the sawmill and immediately used, or we could just build a stockpile up of maybe 1,000 tons. That's going to get then taken to the steel mill. It takes a little bit longer, but it doesn't matter because we're still delivering the correct amount, and it's a much more efficient way of doing things because it allows the game's director to share the cargo amongst different industries at the same time. So as we can see for an example here, we got this train pulling in from our southwest yard. It's got 300 tons of crude oil, 195 tons of coal, 68 tons of goods, and the other cars are empty because on the way back it's going to need those to load the cargo in the station. So this train's going to pull in, It's then going to drop off the cargo that's needed, and they're going to transfer to these 2 stations, and we'll cover this in just a second. That's going to then get distributed to wherever it needs to go, and it's also going to distribute some of the cargo onto the same station as well, so it can go to other yards. This is what that looks like in practice. We have the cargo getting unloaded, and then more cargo is going to get loaded, like the plastics and the steel and stuff like that, to go back. And obviously these are really long trains, and that's because in Transport Fever 2, the maximum length of a train is about 820 meters, and that's what you want to be aiming for every single time with your cargo hubbing trains. So let's talk about how to actually construct these and what goes into these hubs. So to open the minimap, we're going to start out, because obviously as the game progresses through the years, it just changes a little bit slightly, but for the most part it's going to be this exact setup. When you first begin, it's just going to be you want a central hub where as much as the cargo as possible is going to go to the central hub and then dispatch from there. But later on, as you progress through the game and build more track, you're going to want this set up with 4 in each corner of these hubs and then a central distribution hub, and then connect them all together in sort of an X shape or a plus shape depending on the map. At each of these hubs, you're going to have your main platform, which is going to be 820 meters long, which I'll show you how to build real quick. It's pretty simple. Go to buildings and then go to the cargo station. Set it to, I think for the central station you can use 4 or 6 tracks. I go for 4 personally because I manage with the cargo and the length of the trains. It seems to fit most of the time, but you can go for 6 tracks if you want. So you get the 6-track platform, set it to 320 meters, and make sure that there's catenary as well, because we're going to need electric power because it's very heavy trains. Let's find a spot for this. This is obviously not the most ideal spot, but it's just an example. You want to, when you place in this central hub, place it not in the capital city, but near the capital city, because we're going to truck any of the goods such as the cargo, like these goods and the food and the tools and the fuel and whatever needs to get delivered. We're going to truck that in the short distance to the city, but we don't want the main hub in the city, because look at this, when we open the emissions, boom, heavy emissions, and we don't want that in the center of the city because it's going to make the city shrink. Because if we open the menu on the city, you can see we've got quality, and then we have the population of the station, so how many people are in the station currently, the traffic level, and the emissions. And the emissions do damage to the city's overall growth. And that's not good, we don't want that. So that's why we keep it just out of range, maybe 200, 300 meters away. Make sure as well that you're placing this down on flat land as well. You don't want to be placing this on the side of a hill, because it's going to make really difficult track connections, and it's also going to mean that your trains are going to struggle up the hills. The second thing to do when you place down your station is go to the station, press configure, then go to tracks, standard tracks with catenary, and we're going to basically just lengthen this station as long as possible, which is 840 meters. You have to place this down where it's going to be in the middle, because it only allows you to go a certain amount on each side. For example, I can't go any more on this side now, but on the other side I can still go further out. And basically you just want to max this out. And you can see obviously this is not the best spot for it because we've got a bit of a hill going on, but it's just an example like I say. So do this for the rest of the station, extend everything. And when you've got that, you should have something that looks a little bit like this. I would line the outside with these big buildings as well, which you can get by in the configure menu going to cargo buildings and then selecting one of these end ones here. You can see this holds 80, this one holds 60, and it just gives you that extra storage. And I would line the entire platform with these just so you have the capacity for more cargo holding. And it allows you to basically have more stuff laying around, and the trains can be less frequent, because for passenger trains frequency is king, but for cargo capacity is king, not frequency and not speed. The second thing to do is to offload the cargo. So you're going to want a lot of trains that are either going to be coming in, such as this train here, which I believe is transporting wood. It's picking up from this forest here, and that's just simply picking up wood, like your standard cargo route in Transport Fever 2 that everyone's built. Picking up straight from the wood place, and then dropping this off at this station. Or you might have outgoing cargo, such as we've got a train here that's, I think, loading crude oil. It's picking up the crude oil, it's taking it down this line, dropping it off at this refinery, and then it's bringing back the refined oil back to get loaded onto these trains, which you can see here. So that's why we have one of these, and I recommend again you have 6 tracks for this, but for these intermediate stations I always use 6 platforms. And these trains that are on here are not going to be mixed trains a lot of the time. They can be, don't get me wrong. For example, this train here is a mixed train. It's got 3 cars in the end carrying the steel back from the steel mill, as well as the cars carrying the coal and the iron. But for the most part, these trains are just going to be your sort of one type trains. This is just carrying wood, for example. And it's going to get offloaded or loaded at this little platform here. And then the next one, and make sure that this is also connected to your main distribution hub. This is going to be your road distribution hub, and this is going to be your local distribution. Then this is going to transport all of the cooked goods that have been made to where they need to go within the local area. Let's go on, for example, the fuel drop off. It's getting loaded, the fuel, it's taking it to the city, and it's dropping it off where it needs to go. In reality, I could probably do with a few more of these stops here. There's not too many. A better example of this is probably going to be my goods and fuel drop off, and you can see in the industrial zone, where you can see, for example, all over the city, there's loads of different stops, and it's going basically picking up, dropping off, picking up, dropping off, picking up, dropping off. It's going to automatically load. It's not going to 100% load if it doesn't need 100% of cargo. Say this one needs 50% of the maximum capacity of a truck can hold. It's going to load that. It's going to drop it off here and go back, load up whatever it needs, say 74%, drop it off, 26%, drop it off, whatever number it might be. It's going to do it perfectly. And that's what's called the game's director. And that means when there's available cargo, it's going to assign perfectly what gets needed to go where. It's the same when you plug in a simple industry together. Say, for example, you're plugging in a forest into a sawmill, just a straight line. The game's going to go, oh, this sawmill needs this sort of cargo. This is what we're going to pick up at the station. And that's basically how it works, even from an early game point of view. But you can apply that, really upscale it to this sort of situation. And why might we use a secondary hub with trains like this, as opposed to just using road vehicles? Well, you could use it. Now, the road vehicles are great for short range. They go like 300 meters is ideal, 200, 300 meters, probably best. But sometimes there's just some cargo that needs to go slightly further. Like, I really wouldn't want to be running wood all the way from like over here. It's just like kind of just slightly out of range. And then the same goes for like this coal and iron stuff. I don't want to be running it all the way down here by road, and especially this oil here. I don't really want to do this by road. You need a lot of vehicles. I know a few of you might be thinking, well, why is it separate? Why is there a road station and 2 train cargo stations? That doesn't make sense. Why not just use one? Well, actually, it makes a lot of sense. Well, you've got your really long primary distribution hub, which is for your really long trains that are going to be coming in and out high frequency. And you've also got your secondary hub with, again, lots of frequency. However, the difference is this secondary station is for local trains only. And that is because if you have just a central distribution hub and a truck hub, then it means your truck hub's going to get overloaded really quickly if you have to put everything local on there. So we're transporting all the cargo locally on this truck hub to all the surrounding industries, as well as delivering the products. By having everything separate with these 3 stations, you can very, very clearly visually see what's going where in terms of cargo. You can see which cargo is going nationally across the map with the big station. Then the secondary station, you can see exactly what's going into the local area. And then with the truck station, you can see exactly what's getting delivered to the local cities. And a third reason why you do this comes from an optimization perspective. Now, many players, as you go throughout the game, are not really going to have any issues with lag, so they're just going to do whatever they want throughout the game. But when you reach the late game, and you'll know when you get there, the game's going to start to slow down and get a bit more laggy. And that's why, here's another reason why you wouldn't use these trucks. You would have this secondary train station, because these secondary trains transporting cargo to the local area can carry a lot more capacity. It means you need only 1 vehicle compared to maybe 10 vehicles of trucks. So for an optimization perspective, it's way better to have these trains running to the local area. You can't do this with the trucks delivering to the city though, because you do not want maximum capacity for delivering to the city, and you definitely do not want to be having cargo trains inside the city zone. And that's why you would use trucks for delivery, small capacity trucks. You don't mix them up, keep them all separate, and it makes it very obvious with the icons in game what's going where. And then you want to have a similar sort of setup, but maybe slightly smaller scale around the map. So just to recap, this is our central distribution hub near the capital city, 4 or 6 tracks for your main distribution hub. Then you want to have 6 tracks for your secondary train distribution. And then you want to have 2 to 4 platforms. You don't need a crazy amount, just make sure you've got a lot of storage for your local road distribution. I hope that makes sense. Let's now cover an external hub. So this is a hub on the northwest side of the map, and you can see this in practice. We've got the pickup of the cargo, only a 2-track because it's what's needed. We don't have that many trains pulling into these external yards. And then we have our smaller local pickups for the cargo, and that's getting dropped off here with mostly trains carrying the same sort of thing. You're carrying almost the same thing, pretty much just a wood train, that one. And then obviously we've got the grain train here, lots of grain getting dropped off. And all of that's going to get transferred onto the train when it arrives to go to the distribution hub. And then we've also got our local road cargo. As you can see in this instance, there's just not that much cargo needs to go by road, so it's just a simple station. But you might have a different example of this. Let's go to another yard. We've got this one here, similar sort of setup. We've got this time only a 1-track because the train traffic is clearly not that high here. And we've got more tracks here. I've actually left it with 6 tracks even though it's not needed, just so I can expand in the future if I need to. And a slightly bigger road station. The same applies for this one, and the same also applies for this one here. The only exception with this yard is we've also got an extra couple of tracks that are going past here for a passenger route, because the commuter trains in Transport Fever 2, at the end of the game at least, kind of go about the same speed as your cargo trains, so they can share tracks, and that's just an efficient way of doing things. Now let's talk rolling stock really quickly. So you're going to want this train to be basically the best cargo carrier you have unlocked at the time. I'm in the late game, it applies across the board. You want the train to be 820 meters long and have a variety of these cars. You're going to need to make sure at least one type of all of these is on board the train. Even if it's just a boxcar route that's transporting only plastic, when you first set it up, it needs to expand, and the director's only going to work if there's at least one type of car on the train. And believe me, you're going to make way more profit than the loss on maybe one empty car that's running at the same time. So it's really not necessary to optimize. It's better to have the options so the director can automatically assign stuff, because sometimes it has the ability to see different routes that you might not have expected. It might be transferring cargo on different trains, and having that available to transport is going to basically just make everything way more efficient. It's going to find the most efficient route, the director. So make sure you've got at least one of these cars of each type on the train, and then make sure it's about 820 meters long. You can add whatever cars are necessary just by monitoring the cargo. Just add as many as you need to until you get it up to 820 meters. If you go any longer, it's going to cause issues with signaling if you've got it really tight. So I just go slightly under 820. And then let's talk about the power. So make sure you're using a really powerful train. I'm in the late game, like I say, so I use the Eurojoule ×2, which gives me 14k kilowatts of power and a 160 top speed. You want to be using the best train possible. And then when you've got the train, simply assign these routes to go from any hub to the center and return, and just do that loop. And that's going to do it the same for all 4 yards. However, I'm in the late game. I'm in the year 5778 at the moment, which is way far ahead. The vast majority of people watching this video are not going to be that far ahead in the game. And that's why you need to watch this video, which is going to explain what trains exactly you should use and what trains that you need to avoid in Transport Fever 2.